Hello, welcome to another video where today I'm talking about Doctor Who. Technically again, because I did this before, but this is the first time for a talk topic, so it won't be again until I guess the future. But it is technically again. Mainly because, well, now we've had 2 seasons of, you know, new stuff, so I thought it was about time to cover, I guess, where we're at, I guess, where I'm at, with Doctor Who, and, sort of discuss how I feel about the, modern Who at the moment. So, I guess let's just get straight into it. This new RTD era is nothing like the classic. Like, it doesn't have that same energy. It hasn't all been bad. It's just like some parts. It's like, what the hell are you doing, RTD? Like, what the heck are you doing? Like, you've consumed crazy pills. Like, it's not all that bad. Like, for some of it, like, you know, Mr. Ring a Ding wasn't that bad, met a bit in the episode where it like breaks the fourth wall kinda. Like like it's always hard to potentially balance, a fourth wall bit, but especially when you add the audience into it, it's like it gets a bit odd, and it can feel like you're making a commentary on, your an audience, which may or may not be seen as good. I'm personally, technically, I guess, sort of relatively indifferent to it. Just it may raise some concerns, like, so it's kind of just mirror. So, but that's, at least of the problems, That's just like one thing that, every show seems to do sooner or later. Like, or, have like a fourth wall breaking bit where there is the audience. I mean, there's ways to do it without being like mean or whatever. I don't think it was meant to be mean spirited. Just the word weird was used. Like, so it could be seen as potentially like a bit of a jab at the audience. which is not good if you want to keep the audience that is still lingering on, because the audience has been dying out for a while now. It technically started with like Moffat, but Moffat's era is not that bad. It really probably started the peak with, Chibnall and, there's kind of tried to be, a recovery of things, but, that little bit probably is not technically doing any favors to efforts of trying to save the show. To be fair, Doctor Who is so important to so many people that it might be, it can't really truly die, at least not now. While they're still, playing offense alive. But, if the show heads into cancellation or something again, who knows if it'll come back a second time without, some actual good work put into it. Which is how, things began for, Modern Who, can't we just, fix it now before it dies again? Or, fix it, leave it running for a bit and then fully end it, But obviously, couldn't really end at, 11, despite, the rules of the Time Lords, because it would be a bit, probably been a bit odd to end it then. And then we would have never gotten Capaldi as, the Doctor. So, despite the bad after points, that was good. Anyway, and the good obviously is Capaldi. Yeah. Anyway, I'm getting a bit too focused on stuff that I've probably already mentioned before, bit too focused on, let's get back to, the current stuff. So, yeah, mainly where things start to dip or get weirder by, like, the episode in the hair shop. Like, I hardly even, like, followed the episode. Like, what the heck's going on here? I am not following. Like, I can get, the simple stuff like, oh, stories come to life on the wall, visually, that's cool, hair grows, but what the heck is going on? Why is this guy doing what he's doing? Why is there seemingly like there's this implied history between stuff? Like the doctor and the lady, and also the future doctor, the fugitive doctor is still canon, but it seems like RTD's also like the Chris Chibnall stuff didn't really happen. It's very confusing on like what is sort of retconned or not. Like the Doctor is like 1 billion years old, as he does say that like one point. Which would imply that Chibnall stuff is still canon, but it's very confusing. I have no idea where the canon of the Doctor stands. Safe to say, things have been firmly ruined probably ever since, Chibnall, like touched and RTD's just been indifferent about and not actually seemingly made a firm decision one way or the other, like a kinda appease to fans, but also still keeping some bits seemingly canon, and it's confusing. Yeah, that whole episode with the barbershop thing is just a bit confusing and brings up again the questions of the canonity of certain things, and it's like, what the hell is going on? And also, is that the barbershop episode supposed to be the episode that I heard of that I was, interested in? Because I heard, that one of the episodes would be unlike no other with its thing. I was like, ooh, that sounds intriguing. I was optimistic. But if that was the episode that was hinted towards, I'm like, was that it? Was that the thing I was excited for? I was absolutely confused by that. When they said it would be a weird and interesting episode to follow, like, I thought it would all make sense, but it just doesn't. So I believe that was the episode that was hinted towards, and it just doesn't. But anyway, that's only the start of where it starts to go wrong. Like, because reusing the Midnight Entity, I mean, it killing at midnight seems like midnight to a person is currently technically behind. It's kind of on the nose, and very much seems like a Moffat coded monster. and it's no longer fully possessing the person anymore. It's just lingering on their back, I guess, kind of like a devil or something. So I guess it's kind of interesting in that regard, but the way it kills is just kind of dumb. But yeah. Anyway, um, the last few episodes, where problems start to really, I guess, rear their head. And just, competition thing, not too bad. Like, it's like, oh, Ronnie. I thought it was like the master when I saw an image of them by regenerating, but no, it was Ronnie, so, like, I was like, oh, the master's back. Until I watched the actual episode, so for at least once I wasn't fully spoiled on things, technically. Managed to half dodge a bullet there for internet spoilers. But yeah, like, did see an image, but mistook who it was. Even Sky mistook. But when watching the episode with Sky, I was like, wait, they just said that Arani, and that's an old Doctor Who character. I was like, they were pointing out to them, and I also, at the same time, was like, got to know, it's not Master. Alright, okie dokie, Rani's returned. Hopefully I can see cool stuff with them. That didn't happen really much. Because the next two, basically with the Wish World stuff, Ronnie's plan is kind of like, what? You're okay, you want to bring back Omega, but Omega's like this weird skeleton thing. It doesn't even really get to be there. Doesn't even really get to do what the old Omega did. To be fair, old Omega kind of didn't do much as well. Like, they were only a villain that appeared twice. One with the three doctors and once with the fifth. So, Omega, despite being one of the technically big three, being Rassilon, Omega, and the other, surprisingly does not have much. And this doesn't really help them out be interesting as their third appearance. But Anyway, eventually Doctor does their thing and fixes the world, but then half the episode's just about like the final episode's like about Poppy. And it's like, did this really have to be this long? Yeah, definitely can get why people would not be too happy about the Poppy bit. The 13th Doctor was a surprising cameo. Probably the best bit of the 13th Doctor so far. Because at least it wasn't Chibnall. Although RTD's been a bit crazy, at least 13 actually was actually kind of making sense. Like, the most, the best that the 13th Jodie has been as the 13th Doctor. Even if it was very short, like, she actually is kind of spitting facts. Like, why are you wasting your regeneration energy on this one individual? To be fair, Doctor's kind of done it before for River Song. But, the River Song is kind of, his, kind of wife in a way, other than the tires. So, you know, I guess, it needed whatever, and also time paradox. If River, gets, dead before they're supposed to be dead, but really was kind of always. But whatever. Oh news. Anyway, back to current. But yeah, 13th appears and actually makes sense. It's like, I think I have a good analogy for it. It's like the 13th Doctor's probably like old part of like RTD's mind, the actual good part being like trying to reason with the crazy part to not do their crazy antics. But at this point, the craziness has taken the majority hold, so there wasn't really any stopping what comes next. There wasn't really any stopping the Doctor wasting their regeneration energy just for Poppy. So yeah. And anyway, I guess Judy, at this point was done because, there's no point on, waiting forever between things, like, so, despite as much of, how much they probably, are invested into it, it was probably, time to call it quits, which was, totally fair, choice. Totally fair thing to, do. So, yeah. So, yeah. And then we get who he regenerates into Billy Piper. Personally, I I'm not gonna be mad. I'm gonna be optimistic. Like, maybe people are like, questioning it, but who knows? Maybe she could actually be good as a doctor. I know it is a bit weird that, she was a companion, basically, 2 decades ago, and was a key part of, sort of, the classic RTD, era, up till, 2008 or whatever, she technically last appeared. Also, Billy Piper appeared as the moment, but that wasn't too egregious because it's like, it was like, ah ha ha, you know, funny, thing, Moffat gets to do some jokes and stuff, whatever. It's not too bad. Like, it's not that egregious. But we'll have to see how Billy Piper as the Doctor goes. We'll have to see. I mean, no one complained about Capaldi returning. To be fair, like, Capaldi only really did do, that. Well, two characters. The one in Fires of Pompeii, whatever, one time character deal, and the other guy in Torchwood. Most people wouldn't know about the Torchwood thing. In the Children of Earth thing. And if you have not seen it, you should go watch all of Torchwood. Just like, for 4 seasons, unfortunately, kind of half spoilers, yeah, and the 4 seasons kind of left on a cliffhanger, and it's been that way for like over a decade. But he is hoping Torchwood will return. He is goddamn hoping. I really do hope. But, yeah. Anyway, I already, talked about, you know, Torchwood before, so, yeah, I've already covered on how much, I love that, and it was a shame I missed that, for so long. Like, it's a shame that I missed out on something like that for so long, but now the mistakes have been rectified. But, yeah. Anyway, but yeah. Anyway, back to Billy Piper as next Doctor, as the 16th Doctor. I'm optimistic. So I won't, make my opinions until I see it myself, I won't give her a chance, As the second, you know, female doctor, I want to actually see what is produced before any opinions are formed. So I'm going to be relatively optimistic and, wait patiently for it. So, you know, yeah. It was just funny when me and Skywatcher had to be so many times be like Billy Piper when he kept saying like Rose Tyler, Billy Piper, that's the actress's name, Billy Piper. Don't know how many times have to say it. They aren't the character. To be fair, I don't even think Sky probably fully realized. So yeah. But yeah. Either way, I'm still hoping things can be better. But safe to say, RTD is probably on their last straw at this point. Many fans are probably just already just basically giving up. Me, I still am optimistic because there are definitely some good bits. Like, there's some good bits. Even dumb stuff like Dugadoo is surprisingly way way greater than it ever should be. Like, it's just like a dumb, thing, but it's actually kind of brilliant. It is very much like internet brain rot coded, if that makes any sense, It's very much something, I think that, was made on purpose probably for, sort of Gen Z, you know, something that was made for, probably my generation, or, those that are close, like millennials or Gen Alpha. So, yeah. But yeah, I'm still optimistic, but my optimism can only go so far, and it doesn't help that in comparison to now I've, seen Torchwood, it's like, just further digging the grave of, how far Doctor Who has fallen. But I'm still willing to give it another chance. And even if the final straw is broken, I still probably would keep up with it just out of morbid curiosity. It'd be eventually become one of those things where it's like so bad, but you can't stop doing it because you've invested way too much time into it, so you just keep doing the bad thing. That's never, it's never ending cycle ever. But yeah, either way, yeah, I'm giving it, probably one more chance. I want to be optimistic. But safe to say, this is probably RTD's last chance. And some people might be right, there might be time for a change. Honestly, yeah, again, my pick is, Moffat, because they at least don't seem like they've had the crazy dudes. Like, RTD definitely has had the crazy dudes. Chris Chibnall, yeah, it's not going back to him. No way in hell. So, yeah. Really only leaves if we're going to return to one. Why not just be Moffat again? Because at least they don't seem to have drunk the crazy dudes, and they're still doing basically the same thing with the few episodes they have done, like they always would have done. They're making, sort of the same sort of villains as they always did. And that's not technically bad. I mean, it'd be probably better than crazy RTD at the moment. So, honestly, give it back to Moffat. Like, Moffat might not technically have been the best, but he's like the second best compared to old RTD. But old RTD seems to be currently dead somewhere or basically unconscious somewhere in current RTD's brain, and only seems to be maybe peering out, like with that analogy I made before, where it feels like the 13th Doctor was the good part of, like, RTD being like, hey, maybe we're going too far. But then the crazy juice part that has become the majority is like, we should be doing more. We need more because more's better. We don't need subtlety or substance. We just need more fan favorite things. We need Omega, we need Rassilon, we need Arani, we need the Master, we need Sutek, we need the Daleks, we need the Cybermen, we need the Ice Warriors, we need the Saltarans, we need everything, yeah, do it all. And let's have bi-generation so there's a million doctors. Yeah, that won't be a financially ruining thing for the Doctor Who paying all these actors. We could be like the MCU and have so many damn doctors and so many Doctor Who worlds. Woohoo! Let's sell Doctor Who to Disney, which was actually something that was, said by RTD, which really does seem like crazy juice talking. We should sell it to Disney. We need it all. Like, it seems at this point like if we can't go back to old RTD, at least go back to Moffat, because when Moffat can cook, he can cook. Blink, Heaven Sent, when he can cook, like. He can make some brilliant episodes on occasion. The rest are just kinda average, but at least it wouldn't be average filled with crazy juice. It'd be mid, but a better mid, because at least it's not crazy juice. It's just Moffat being Moffat and making Moffat-esque villains. Like what he did with the Midnight Entity. Where it's like, okay then, whatever, at least, it's kind of cool for Midnight Entity to be back, even though the way it kills is kind of stupid, but at least it's stupid in a funny way, so, at least Moffat can get a pass. Because it's just kind of how Moffat's always rolled. Like, like, more often than not, give Moffat a pass. I mean, a lot of Moffat, unique monsters weren't that bad. Like, the Silence, that they were actually pretty creepy. Not actually a bad addition to, Doctor Who. Honestly, wish they pop up again. And maybe that would happen if Moffat took control. Because if you could really play around with that concept of memory forgetting and probably make it truthfully, like, potentially horrifying episode. Like, I feel like, Moffat's best bet. Best bet to put the hands of Doctor Who into. Like, if can't find someone new, give it to him for a while till you can get someone new. That will actually do it well. You know, probably, like, have Moff as the main and have, like, some additional writers from time to time and see what works and what doesn't. Unfortunately, with seasons being so short, now with like 8 episodes, it makes it really hard to test out new writers because, you know, like, if you want to test 3 writers, that's like almost half the season. Like, it doesn't really work well with the modern format of seasons. Like, so the most is probably 2, and that's not a lot. And Moffat probably won't stick on probably forever. Like, they've done it before. Like, the most they'll probably have in them is like 2 to 3 seasons. Like, I would have to anticipate. So, it's going to be dicey no matter what for the future of Doctor Who. I am cautiously optimistic, but there's only so much that can be done. Who knows what the future will hold for it? I'm, I guess, just stuck contemplating about and hoping for a best. But yeah, at the very least, these last 2 seasons have technically been better. But technically, I don't think it's gonna be enough if, you know, things continue as they have been, you know, until the crazy juice is gone. It's like basically like, you know, Doctor Who's, I guess, you know, at risk of probably being cancelled sooner or later again. Like, Doctor Who really is on its, like, last straw. I mean, for me, it's basically on its last straw. But realistically, it might have at least a few, but if nothing is done quickly, you know, 3 straws will probably quickly become 2 if they stick with what they've got currently. It'll probably quickly become 1. And if they don't find someone new and good to do it, it could eventually become 0, and then Doctor Who's dead again, potentially for a while. until it comes back again. Unless it doesn't, which would suck. But yes, only time will tell. And, I may or may not live to see that, depending on how fast is cancelled, if it does get cancelled, and how long it takes for it to tick back for it to be revived again. So, time will tell, time will tell. But yeah, I guess that's where I'm currently at with Doctor Who. Cautiously optimistic, but probably on my final straw, or I might, consume the slot because of morbid curiosity later, even if the final straw breaks, just because, so much of my life is, feels like, Doctor Who is a important part of it, so, it'll suck to see it degrade. Eventually, if it really is that bad, I probably would just fully stop. Like, I can't watch any more of this, after the hypothetical season whatever, I'm out. Unless it, is good. As time will tell where the results land. All I can do is hope for the best. Doctor Who will always be, near and dear to my heart. I'll definitely, talk about it again, but it could be a while before I talk about it again. I'll probably, mention my feelings on the unit thing when it comes out, but that'll probably just be like, in a stream, not a video. Like, unless it gets included in a video, who knows? But yeah, next time I talk about Doctor Who and Dedicated, who knows? But yeah, it's enough rambling for now. I'm cautiously optimistic as well. I'm left off at. And hope, it doesn't break. That it can be sort of revived and go on for a while and have some good stuff and then conclude. Because eventually things, everything comes to an end, Sure, it'll suck when it's, over, but keeping it alive forever, like a Frankenstein monster, it's like eventually drags on too long. So eventually it's time to let the thing rest. Everything will have its resting point sooner or later, so yeah. But it's hard when it's, a franchise beloved by many, and a very important thing. Especially when, such a good job was done at the beginning that's like, sad to see, it's sort of falter and sort of, die out a bit. But yeah. Anyway, I'll stop babbling about Doctor Who. I'm sure I've already been speaking for longer than I would have anticipated. Almost an hour, yep. Almost longer than anticipated. Oh, definitely a bit longer than I anticipated. Like, I expected like 30 to probably 40. More likely 40. But yes, I had a lot more to say than I realized. Anyway, I'll finally wrap this. So, thank you all for watching this video, and peace until next time. I'm sure I'll talk about Doctor Who again. And eventually I'll need to watch some more Doctor Who things. I did actually watch Dreamland, the animated thing. That was interesting. Kind of weird. Yeah. But yeah, anyway, that'll be it. Before I talk about things too much. So yeah, peace, thank you, and goodbye.